Donk Nation, Jax and Janet's greetings and welcome to your Daily Dose of Donkey with Ginger. It's your boy, the Viking Donkey, bringing you the positive vibes because Gingy, it's here. The preseason is over, but Gingy, we're stuck in this like 0 week where nothing happens. I mean, good golly gosh, is it boring to be in 0 week? But Gingy, how you doing?
Yo, what up? Gingy in the house, Donkey. We're getting to that season, baby. Yes, it is 0 week, but it's not 100 weeks away. It's right around the corner. We got a 53-man roster.
We do?
We're putting a team out there, Donkey. What do you think about that?
Perhaps 0 week couldn't come at a better time for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, Troy Fontanu, this might give him a chance to be healthy by the start of the season. Jaylen Warren, a chance to be healthy by the start of the season. Put Isaac Simualu a week closer to being ready so he doesn't miss an important game. But man, pec injury early in the year to Simualu, a guy with a big history past outside of last year. Yeah, I'm concerned about that, Gingy. So while I'm hyped, I'm a little scared because our already thin offensive line is cracking hard.
And that's the biggest takeaway from me this preseason, Donkey, talking about injuries happen, right? Key positions, key players. It really exposes some depth issues, of course, which we always talk about, but nothing's perfect, Donkey, right? Let's hope that Jaylen Warren, I really think that compliment, right? Najee Warren, or Harrison Warren, that's very important to the success. Not one or the other, but both. So I really hope that he's able to recover quickly.
The offensive line, though, Gingy, we have to agree, has to be addressed, especially with injuries mounting already. You're talking right now, it's looking like 2 rookies are going to be starting week 1 in the middle in Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier because of the loss of Herbig for the season and Simualu for seemingly at least a month due to injury. It's a little concerning there. At offensive tackle, we're expecting Fontanu to come back. But if he comes back, we're still kind of loose out there, too. I mean, you have Fontanu, Moore, and, of course, Broderick Jones. You have Spencer Anderson, who can play all over the spot. You got McCollum backing up center. I don't know. I'm a little scared about this depth. There's a lot of good veterans out there who could play in the system. Maybe you bring back a guy like Mason Cole just for the knowledge with the guys around him, right? I know he wasn't good, but he was good enough to be starting over guys like McCollum who couldn't even make the team last year. And there's another interesting name to me that I talked about wanting the Steelers to draft a couple years ago, and an offensive lineman named Jackson Carman, big guy, played and has starting experience in the NFL with Cincinnati, but they decided they didn't need him this year. I really think the Steelers need to go address the offensive line depth, and it needs to be addressed now.
Yeah, I mean, last year we're talking about a unit, Donkey, that really, highly criticized as it was, performed pretty well in the latter half of last season. Really, I mean, with another, committed first rounder being added to the squad, you had really high hopes there.
Maybe more important was the health of last year's unit because we never had to see the depth come into play. And when we did, and not meaning anything here about it, but the passing game took a step backwards at first because Broderick Jones was not as good as pass pro as Chuck Okorafor, who was coming off his worst season was last year. So the fact is, coming into this year with no depth it's concerning. But if we want to move the next step, Russell Wilson as a starting quarterback. Oh my God, biggest shock in the world, right? Like we didn't know that the day he signed.
Right. Well, I mean, that was the start from the beginning, but really, did he? I don't know. He didn't win the job. I was going to say he didn't overwhelmingly convince. No. I mean, I'm convinced. To be honest, I'm convinced. Right? Don't get me wrong there.
His only touchdown was a 31-yard run by Cordero Patterson against a bunch of backups in Detroit. Speaking of which, Gingy, we haven't got your take on the last 2 preseason games of the preseason as a whole. I've put my take out there. You go ahead. This is your moment. How'd the preseason go for you?
Buffalo really turned me off. All right, that looked like an ill-prepared, not professional. Nothing good about that. That's what really drove me away for a minute.
Steelers offense.
I'm one of these traditional people, Donkey. I learned that if I didn't have nothing nice to say, I don't say nothing at all. right? And there was a minute there when I'm concerned in the Steelers when I didn't really have anything nice to say. So I kind of, kept it to myself for a minute. But last game, we did see some improvement, some production on offense. We're looking for that key opening drive, right? There was points on the opening drive, granted, against backups,
And not
but
just, I think we should put a double caveat on this, Gingy. Not only backups, but backups to a team that was bottom 5 in defense last year.
okay, yeah, we'll go with that then, Donkey. That doesn't necessarily make it any better here, but much worse actually. But Donkey,
Man,
we're
I
worried
watched
about the production of the offense. Absolutely.
my wife likes Detroit, so I watched enough of their games. The opposite Ed Rusher and Aiden Hutchinson, dude, that's all that they had. Like, this was a team that was in the playoffs signing defensive tackles and starting them the next week. That that's the way that defense was last year. But there are some good hopes. We saw things move forward. We saw, albeit maybe not as fast as he was, a little bit of explosiveness from Cordero Patterson. We get into the roster breakdown. A few surprises here for me. Only keeping 3 outside linebackers, big surprise to me. Keeping an extra defensive lineman, when I'm going to be honest, both Logan Lee and Isaiah Loudermilk have shown me nothing to make this roster, but we keep an extra one there. An outside linebacker. Remember, Alex Highsmith is still currently hurt. Okay? He hasn't played in a game. He's still currently hurt. Herbig's an undersized guy. And TJ Watt has been known to have an injury history. And Jesus, if we're relying as DeMarvin Leal as the depth player, we saw that in his rookie year. He cannot play outside linebacker. That's my biggest concern right now, Gingy.
Yeah, no, that is a problem. We need a solid D line. I think that might be a real area we need to be looking to upgrade in the future. I mean, with
sure.
Cameron Hayward, let's hope that he produces up to the numbers, right? Up to the contract. And
Right.
the roster surprise for me, is this an Arthur Smith move that we basically have 3 tight ends?
It's 4. Depending on how you view Casey Hayward, 4. And no, it's kind of how the Steelers have been for a while. Remember, we did it last year. We had Firemuth, the guy we cut, Rodney Williams, Washington, and Connor Hayward. It's the same, except this time Williams is now down to the practice squad, and it's Michael Pruitt who took the last spot, I believe, if I have that right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I knew it
it's
was
the
at least
Steelers.
Washington Hayward and Firemuth.
It's the Steelers' way of being stuck in the past. Speaking of which, thank God no more Brandon Ayuk rumors, dude. Thank Jesus.
Ooh, get that off the table. Yeah, I agree. I mean, he got paid, and I'm not unhappy that it wasn't us.
Me neither, but let's be honest here. The rumors might have stopped, but the Steelers needing a number 2 receiver hasn't. We're going into the season with Pickens and a group of number 3 receivers here. Van Jefferson, and being number 3 receivers might be nice to them. You got Van Jefferson, Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller. Who's the guy that I'm missing in this group right now, Gingy? What? Why is my brain turned off here?
Austin?
Oh, yes, Calvin Austin III. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little surprised Des Fitzpatrick did not make this team. He looked good as a return man, and him and Scotty Miller were the 2 best receivers this preseason. I'm a little surprised they didn't keep Des Fitzpatrick here on this team, as I thought maybe he had a chance to show a little more, getting more reps.
Yeah, me too. I didn't think there was an outstanding performance, but nothing really that drug me away from him, right? And we need the depth at that position for sure. I don't think we really need. Who is even out there at this point, though, Donkey? I don't know if I want to get into this again, but
Gingy,
my God.
have you seen the amount of former second-round picks, like in the last 3 years, second-round picks that got cut this year at wide receiver? The Steelers should have been on fast track to call every single one of them because we could use one. But two, there were just so many out there that got cut, and it's like, whew, if that's a place of need, isn't that a place that you should, I don't know, look to get? Do you think that this is maybe something the Steelers will look into doing? Is adding one of these guys who got cut?
I sure hope so, Donkey, because we need it. We can't. I don't think we can operate there. I don't think we can operate at a high level offensively with the pieces that we have presently.
Yeah, I hear you.
Might be a hot take, might be harsh, but I feel like we're looking at okay, week one stat line: Russell Wilson 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 260 yards, and the Steelers win freaking 17-10.
Okay, the fact that it's Atlanta, maybe that's believable. With saying 2 touchdowns from our quarterback, uh,
just saying, maybe even one running, one throwing.
I'm not trying to be funny here, Gingy, but go ahead and look at this team and look at the Denver Broncos offense last year and tell me how I think we're gonna have better performance than they did, but I don't see how we're in a spot that's gonna substantially make a year older Russell Wilson look better than he did last year.
I don't either. I don't. Let's hope we're wrong, Donkey. But I don't either. Especially without premium weapons. I don't know, Donkey.
Now, how about a little bit of surprise, a little bit when we signed him before he even practiced? I told you Beanie Bishop was going to make this team, dude. His college numbers, his measurables, everything about him says he should be in the NFL. Now, his tape this preseason wasn't the best, but I'm not surprised there. The guys he was competing against are a bunch of last roster guys, practice squad guys. Not surprised, but I got some high hopes that Beanie Bishop can become something special in the slot for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Maybe not this year, but I think he's a guy that can really mold into a good player in a year or two and really fill that role of hard-nosed corner that we haven't had since Mike Hilton.
I don't know. You speak the words of Mike Hilton, right? Is this guy going to be coming on one of them gnarly corner blitzes where somebody just gets popped? We're bringing this back.
He's not afraid of what you want to call it, contact. He definitely plays physical. He's went through it, and I think he has the ability to absolutely be that guy that takes that step forward.
Sign me up then, Donkey. That sounds great.
That's what I really hope to see. When we're talking about this, though, do any of these names make you, I don't know, think that the Steelers should go out there? The receivers I was looking at is guys like Kadarius Toney, who's obviously washed out in New York and Kansas City, but a ton of talent there. Noah Brown's a guy who last year in a 3-week stretch had 323 receiving yards. I think someone already signed him, though, but that was a guy the Steelers should have looked at. You have other good receivers out there. I think Tim Patrick already signed. He's a guy who played in Denver, had a good year, and then 3 straight years with like knee injuries. There was a lot of those guys that had that type of maybe they could be something. I mean, maybe we take Puka Nakua's brother, Samson Nakua. He just got cut by the Saints. There's a bunch of other big-time second-round picks that I really think the Steelers have to be interested in because they need to upgrade this offense, right? We stand at a team that can Steelers really withstand an injury anywhere becomes the question when you look at the roster, I guess, is what I'll go into next, Gingy. Do you think there's a spot the Steelers can take an injury and it won't just be detrimental to this team? Quarterback. Quarterback's my answer.
Yeah, I mean, that is the actual right. That is the objective right answer, to be honest with you. Sad but true. And, yeah. No, Donkey, not really anything coming to mind there.
Because when you look at this, the offensive line, man, there's no depth, and I'm not sure Broderick Jones should be starting, so I don't see the depth there. I liked Mason McCormick, and we'll see if I think he needed a couple years to develop, but we'll see if he's NFL ready, I guess, early on, or maybe it'll be Spencer Anderson. I don't know. You go to the tight end, maybe tight end as well. I don't think losing Firemouth hurts this team being a run first football team. So maybe tight end is also a spot they could lose one.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at wide receivers, they lose Pickens, they're done. And I don't consider any other wide receiver a starter on this team. So they lose Pickens, they're done. I don't think they have a running back to back up Najee. That defensive line is razor thin. That outside linebacker's razor thin. They're already starting two guys at corner who probably aren't starter quality. And at safety, oof. It's Minka and the cast of misfit toys in the secondary. Is that fair to say at this point?
Yeah. Elliott is probably not really gonna cut it.
No, not at all. Gingy, I just had to say this because you're here now. I called out Cameron Johnston, and did you see him punt the frickin' leather off the football the last two preseason games? That's what we signed, dude. That's what we signed. MVP in the making for this team.
No, I agree. Absolutely. That looked super solid on that. What was it, like averaging 57? 57?
He was 57 a punt? It was something like that. I was crazy. Like, that's exactly what you need to do when you get called out on the daily dose, baby. That's what you need to do. I loved it. I was so happy about it. And I wanted to end my talk on this in an absolute hype moment, Gingy. And my hype moment is we're going to have an MVP punter. That's what's up. That's my hype moment. Gingy, wrap up anything you have for the day. This is the moment. Make your final point about the preseason, the Steelers, how you're feeling about this roster.
I think we pretty much talked it out. I have a pretty general idea where we at. Hopefully see something more and different in the regular season. I'll tell you this, Donkey, right? 3-0, 4-0 in the preseason didn't seem that great, right? Maybe 0-3. Maybe that's the ticket, Donkey.
I know, and I agree that preseason doesn't matter, but let's be honest here. That's not the performance you want to be putting on tape is what these guys did. It was hard to watch at times.
Lull your opponents into a false sense of security, Donkey. That's what's on tape. They're going to be like, yep, Steelers, nope, we got it. And then we're just going to come out with an explosion. Explosion.
I hear what you said, but, man, the more and more I watch the Steelers offense, the more and more I start to wonder, is Mike Tomlin in charge of the offense? Because this is like the fourth straight offensive coordinator I've seen who avoids the goddamn middle of the field like the plague.
Explosion.
I hope you're right, dude. I am ready. But, Gingy, I'm going to tell you the same line I told everyone else. This Steelers team could be 12-5. This Steelers team could be 5-12. None of that will surprise me. You know what would surprise me? If they were actually competitive in a goddamn playoff game. And I don't think anything has happened to change my mind on that, Gingy, as sad as it sounds. I'm still hyped for the season, still going to be excited, still going to be that guy who's like, oh, I'm the outlier now. The Steelers have a chance in the playoffs. Actually, no, I'm not, because the one time I did that, we lost to the Browns, and I'm still embarrassed about it. So that won't happen again. But
embarrassing.
This preseason and this roster as constructed, like I said, Gingy, I can see regular season success. You have to convince me this team can compete in the playoffs, and that means when you look at it, we either need to win the division, which that'd be pretty sweet, but then you're talking, if you don't win that, you have to either probably go to Kansas City or Miami or the Jets if for some reason Aaron Rodgers works out, right? Or Buffalo, although I think they're taking a step back. And then you got Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis. It's just
a tough sled. It's a tough sled.
It is.
AFC.
It's a conference that's led by teams with explosive players at every position, and the Steelers just don't seem to have an explosive player outside of George Pickens on the offense. And I'm not saying they're not good. I think Najee's a solid running back. I think Jaylen Warren's a solid running back. I think Firemouth is a above average pass catching tight end, right? It's just, let's be honest here. This team is very much like the LA Rams before they got Sean McVay. just wasting away the best defensive player in the league's career. And then Sean McVay came, got himself a quarterback, and turned it around. I really feel if TJ Watt wasn't on this team, this is a team you'd be talking about competing for the number one draft pick. And I just don't know, is TJ Watt enough to carry this team through this season?
Well, if history has anything to show for it, Donkey, it's not enough. It's enough to get you 500.
Yeah, if he's healthy.
If it's just him by himself is enough for 500, but not much beyond that from what we've seen.
You think we'll have a JJ spotting in black and gold? You know, he did show up to train to a practice.
Let's hope not.
Well, why not?
I'm just saying.
If we signed JJ for like $4 million, bro, I would be down. He'd had some. I'd rather have him playing on the edge right now than Ogunjobi.
No, Donkey. Seems like quite a liability to me. That sounds like a setup.
We could end the year with 2 Watts on the IL.
Whoa. That's enough out of you on that.
All right, Gingy. That's it. Do you have any other topics you want to talk about? Anything surprising to you in roster moves across the NFL?
I don't have anything to contribute to that, but I sure will be excited to get it lined up next week to talk about Atlanta and see what we're doing there.
Real football's happening. By the time we talk, we will have the winner of the Chiefs Ravens. Gingy, gotta ask you. It's the first game of the year. You like red or you like purple?
I definitely don't like purple, but I think purple wins the opening night.
You suck, because that was my pick as well. So fair enough, fair play. All right, Gingy. It's the end of the end of the actual talk part here. It's time for a shout out. It's close to the season. Does that mean you have one?
You know, Donkey, I'm not ready for that yet. But I'll tell you what, we'll find something. Do the Steelers have a punter?
It looks like it. Thank goodness for that. We'll go on. I want to give a shout out to a guy who I absolutely had the feeling was going to make that team, and that's Beanie Bishop. And it's hard for me to shout out a kid from West Virginia. Come on now. P-I-T-T, let's go Pitt. But neither here nor there. Beanie Bishop came out, did his thing, and you have to love when you see those undrafted free agent rookies in this day and age of how these kids are scouted from the time they're in high school. A guy going undrafted, it's just great to see them make the roster. I hope he's the next super success story to add to the Jalen Warrens, the James Harrisons, just those names that make you happy as a Steelers fan in black and gold. So that's where my shout-out's got to be. And, of course, everybody else who made the roster. And you people who get to go on IR and get paid the full season. So, Gingy, just a closing thought after the shout-outs. Ryan Watts going on the season-ending IR with a stinger. Have you ever heard of someone going on IR with a stinger?
That's a bad one. I don't know what happened. I mean, what is a stinger exactly? A pinched nerve, right?
It's like you hit and you get something wrong in one of your little nerves or muscles or something crazy like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He must have really clamped one up, like really squeezed it. I don't know how that works, but
there's no doubt to me. This kid knows he's guaranteed $500,000. The Steelers kind of want to retain his rights, right? And he had a little boo-boo, and they kind of went together, and instead of an injury settlement cut, they're like, hey, we'd like to keep you and see how you do next year. But this year, we're going to pay you $500,000 to pretend to be hurt. Which, the kid gets to still be in meetings, right? He still can do those activities, but he's not allowed to be there on the practice field, if I recall IR correctly. So, you know what? I hope it works out, and I hope this kid works out in the end. But I feel like the Steelers are pulling a little hoodwink here, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Nah, they don't do none of that, Donkey. I discount that as potential.
Never. But hopefully we have a lot more to talk about in front of next week, Gingy. We'll have all the stats to break down. We'll have our prediction. We'll take our look at Atlanta. And I haven't been paying much attention there. But is Kirk Cousins healthy enough to play, or is it gonna be Michael Penix Jr.? I guess really becomes the question there. I haven't paid that much attention to Atlanta, so I don't know. I assume Cousins is good to go. And let's see how Arthur Smith does against his old team. But I'll let you know, I am the Viking Donkey. That's Viking underscore Donkey at Twitch, at Twitter. Your daily dose of Donkey Gingers, where you get this fun content. It's regular season times. You know that means we're going to be breaking it down. Numbers by numbers, stats by stats. You'll get the honest to God numbers take from me, and you'll get the honest to God black and gold take from Gingy. You don't want to miss it. Gingy, let them know.
Mutant Gingy in the house. We hanging out talking football. Just 2 weeks away. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. We're going to be having some real football. You know what, folks? Just wave them if you got them. Here we go, Steelers.